Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadai Purnameva Vashishyate. So welcome to our Saturday morning session. Sorry for this technical glitches, but we have overcome all that and now we are here. Now we shall continue on our journey of the Nasadiya Sukta of Vedas, of Rig Veda. We had covered a part of it and we will continue on that today. But before we start, I would like to say a few things. One is that this Nasadiya Sukta, many people have compared it with what they call Big Bang Theory. The modern science says Big Bang Theory basically begins with a corpuscle of energy which exploded somehow, and then it expanded and formed galaxies and stars and planets, and the universe came into being. But there is a fundamental distinction between the two. Nasadiya Sukta doesn't talk about uh, inanimate things. It talks about animate Brahma, which has consciousness. And that consciousness gave birth to the universe, not the inanimate energy. Actually, the Big Bang Theory has many questions. The first is that how this corpuscle of energy came into existence if there was no one to make it. Secondly, how it exploded. Nobody knows. Thirdly, even if it exploded and expanded into the universe, how did we get matter? Because energy is photon, it doesn't have weight, it doesn't have mass. The earth has weight and the mass, so does other planets. So how did this weight and mass came into existence? How did the matter came into existence? Now the modern scientists are trying to explain it. The Higgs boson theory is one of them, but they have not been able to explain that concept at all. And that is what Nasadiya Sukta is explaining. It is explaining, as we discussed earlier, that there was a conscious power which was actually in existence when there was nothing. When there was no existence, no inexistence, at that time, only thing which existed was Brahma, which was actually wrapped and hidden in darkness, which is called in modern scientific language black holes. Today, the scientists agree that more than 96% of the universe is in black holes and cannot be experienced because there is no light and there is no visibility, there is no way to ascertain what it is. So this is how Nasadiya Sukta actually goes much deeper and explains more scientifically the existence or the what you call manifestation of the universe. So now let's go to the verse number 5 of this Sukta. We had covered up to verse number 4 last time. Now we will go to verse number 5 or the mantra number 5. And they have stretched their cord across the void and know what was above and what was below. Seminal powers made fertile mighty forces. Below was strength and over it was impulse. Now I have another, I was looking at some of the writings on this issue, and I found a very appropriate word for uh, this translation, because the Sanskrit verses have been translated into different forms by different writers and authors. Now, what this particular verse says is that from the primal seed, that is called primal seed in this particular translation, they have explained it that it was the primal seed, and that primal seed sprang crisscross rage holding all the forces above. Now that primal forces actually sprang energy. That is what this particular explanation says. So the other explanation says this primal seed was born of mind, and the third explanation says it was in the void. So there are many explanations of this primal seed. The basic idea is that there was a primal seed which was hidden somewhere, and that primal seed sprang and provided energy. Some of them called it rage, some of them call it the what you call force, some of them call it uh, fertile mighty forces. So these are different versions which have been given in English translation of the Sanskrit verse. So what we basically understand from this sukta is that that hidden force or the primal seed which was existing in the void, that appeared, and that gave birth to fertility, the fertile forces came into existence because of that primal seed. Below was the strength, and over it was the impulse. The strength was basically the primal seed, and impulse is whatever energy which came out of it. Now that energy sprang out of it and spread in the entire universe. So this is the explanation, and that is why some people compared it with the Big Bang theory. But Big Bang theory, the fundamental difference, as I explained, is that the corpuscle of energy is not a live or animate existence. While here the primal seed is the conscious element. And the primal seed in some of the translations have been described as Brahm, the word which has been used in all the Upanishads to describe the supreme force. So we don't have to go into the technicalities of all that. The fact is that this primal seed was hidden in that darkness which enveloped the entire thing. There was no universe at that time. There was no sun, there was no moon, there was no day, no light. Hence, there was no way to distinguish what is what, because everything was wrapped in darkness. And there, this primal seed existed. Like as I mentioned, the modern science says the black holes. Similarly, this must have been a huge black hole or a small black hole, and where this primal seed finally sprang out from the heat, and then the whole universe started expanding and came into existence. And that is what has been described as impulse or the rage or the energy, depending on the translation given by different versions in English. So This Nasadiya Sukta, it very clearly mentions that in the beginning there was neither existence, neither non existence, neither day nor night, neither immortality nor death, no duality existed at that time. And when the primal seed came out of the fertile mind, at that time the whole universe came into existence, all the stars, all the planets, and then all the life varieties. Now, this is the most important part. The physical universe is one part, and the life forces or the species of life is another part. Now, this is what was explained in Purush Sukt. So, the Purush Sukt complements or goes beyond that how the various life forces came into being after the primal seed fertilized or after the primal seed gave birth to the universe. Now, here also, the question is that the way we see the world today, every species of life actually regenerates itself and maintains. This is the principle of, we can call it nature or Paramatma or the universe. So, like for example, we are forced. We have this energy which fructifies in the form of sexual energy. And then in the youth, that sexual energy forces us to reproduce. Similarly, this is happening in each species of life. It is also happening in, seeds. For example, the seeds, when they are sown into the earth, the fertility comes out and it becomes a plant, it becomes a tree, and it again gives birth to fruits and seeds once again. So, this whole automatic process came into existence after this consciousness gave birth to the universe. Now, this the so-called species of life, how they came into being, that is still a mystery. Nobody knows how it happened, and that is why we are going to see two more verses in this mantra, which will explain this part now. Now, the mantra, rather the sukt, the mantra number 6, it says, but after all, who knows and who can say when it all came and how creation happened? Now, even this writer or the sage or the rishis who wrote this sukt in Rigved, even they are saying that after all, who knows? How do we know that all this creation, when it began, how it happened? Because one can give some explanation to the physical universe, the galaxies and the planets and the solar systems and things like that. But how do you give explanation to millions of species of life? In our literature, they have been divided into 4 parts. That is Bhuchar, that is those species which live on the earth. Jalchar, those species which live in the water. And Khachar, those species which live in the space or the birds. So these are the 3 varieties of species of life. And our Shastras also say that there are total of 84 lakhs, 8.4 million species of life, those exist in this universe. Now, it is not possible to verify all that, but since this figure has been given, there may be some truth in it. And I believe there should be a truth in it. Because initially the modern science said there were only few thousand species of life. Then they went to few lakhs, and now they are talking about millions, and they are very close to 8 millions. So I think they will reach 8.4 million, or that is 84 lakh as we call it, a species of life. But the question here is how they came into being and how this question of self maintaining or self regenerating those species came into existence. Now, that is why this Sukt of Rigved is in mantra number 6 is saying that nobody knows how it began, how it happened. The gods themselves are later than the creation. If we talk about the gods, those are special powers. We talk about, for example, sun god or moon, or we talk about Varun, or we talk Indra, or we talk, whatever god we name, whatever special power we call it. Even they came after the creation of the universe. So they also don't know how their origin happened, how they were born. So then it says, so who knows truly when it has origin? So truly, actually, how do you know when it came into being? And this is what has also been said in Bhagavad Gita. And let me quote that verse here. It is chapter 10, verse number 2, which clearly says here, न मे विदु सुरगुणा प्रभवम न मर्षय अहमादिर न देवानाम महर्षि नाम च सर्वश। मेरी उत्पत्ति को अर्थात लीला के सहित प्रकट होने को न देवता लोग जानते हैं और न महर्षि ही जानते हैं, क्योंकि मैं सब प्रकार से देवताओं का और महर्षियों का भी आदि कारण हूं। So this very verse of Bhagavad Gita reflects the same concept as has been mentioned in mantra number 6 of this sukta, Nasadiya Sukta of Rigved. So this remains a mystery, and we don't need to discover this mystery, because even if we discover that mystery, that will not solve anything. What we need to do is to understand ourselves, who are we? And that topic we have been covering in our talks time and again. And we will continue to, uh, you know, trade on that journey time and again. So this verse number 6, or the mantra number 6, explains the reality that nobody would ever be able to know how this existence came into being, particularly the existence of the species of life. And similarly, the species of life, how they reproduce, how they maintain their own balance, all those properties, how they acquired, is not easy to know. Now, verse number or mantra number 7. When all creation had its origin, the Creator, whether he fashioned it or whether he did not, the Creator who surveys it all from the highest heaven, he knows, or maybe even he does not know. Now, this is very tricky here, because it goes even beyond Devatas and Rishis. So, in the previous verse, uh, it talked about that it is not easy or it is not possible to know the origin. And that was supported in Bhagavad Gita also, the verse 2 of chapter 10. But here, it goes even beyond that. It says that when did the creation had its origin? Who is one who created it or did not one not create? So who created it, who did not create it, when it happened? All this is a question, it is a riddle let it remain a riddle. Our small little mind and those small senses which we have been endowed with will not be able to reach us to that point. And I think we should accept that reality, because this mantra here says that even the creator may not even know that who created this universe. So that is little bit too much. I don't fully agree with that. And I agree with actually the verse 2 of chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna says that he knows everything. In fact, he confirmed that also in the chapter 4th, when he talks about the origin of the sun god. So he confirmed that he knows, but nobody else knows the origin, because all the others, all the devtas, all the powers, all the rishis, all the sages, they came subsequently when the universe was already in existence. And therefore they have no means to know. But obviously the super lord, the Brahman, the supreme, he knew, because it all was created because of his willpower, because of his what you call energy or urja, which came from his mind and gave birth to this universe. So he alone knows. So the last part of uh, this mantra, mantra number 7, uh, I don't know whether, because my Sanskrit is not so good that I can actually translate this mantra number 7 into English. And therefore, I cannot go into the wordings of that mantra. But I have seen the translation everywhere, which says that even the Supreme may not know it. Maybe he knows it, maybe he doesn't know. Now, I don't agree with the last part of it. I agree that he knows, and that has been reconfirmed in Bhagavad Gita. This has been reconfirmed in a variety of ways in Upanishads. So, this is basically the Rishi, while he was writing in the form of poetry, this Sukta, he added this to make it little more interesting and, to give us a new puzzle, new thought, new thinking. But I believe that the supreme power, the Brahman, which was the primal seed wrapped in darkness, which gave, or whose mind had this thought to create this universe, and out of that came the energy. Obviously, that consciousness, that supreme consciousness, knows how this came into being. So, this is what the Nasadiya Sukta is. The Nasadiya Sukta is followed by Purush Sukta, and the Purush Sukta gives us the complete details how the species of life came into being. We analyzed that earlier, and we also added the mantras which are in Bhagavad Puran, which give little more expansion of the variety of lives, the 9 kind of creations which has happened. We talked about that in the past. So, with this, we conclude Nasadiya Sukta today, and we will, of course, continue to discuss these concepts when we go into the Upanishads. Now, the purpose of these two suktas is to explain or to understand that the Upanishadic knowledge did not come from a vacuum. The foundation of that knowledge is in the Vedas. The Vedas provide all the clues, they provide the basic seed, and then those seeds got fructified in the Upanishads with greater detail. And then in some of the other writings like Bhagavad Puran, in Bhagavad Gita, they have been explained in a variety of ways. Now, this we conclude, but I want to go into little bit, related details which are part of this process. Now, Paramatma and Padarth. I think we should understand this difference because the modern science is based on Padarth. Padarth is a physical existence of any matter. A large variety of matters exist in the earth. We do all these mining. We have iron, we have gold, we have, so many other varieties, so-called rare earth, metals which are there. So that padarth is the physical existence which can be seen with our eyes, which can be analyzed in laboratories. You can use a variety of instruments to analyze padarth and find its properties. But Paramatma is unseen, unavyakt. It is not in manifest form anywhere. And therefore, it cannot be analyzed in any laboratory. It cannot be analyzed with our sense organs because sense organs cannot grasp that non-manifest power, avyakt power, Paramatma. The difference between the two is, and this is also explained in Bhagavad Gita in greater detail, they call it Prakriti and Purush. Padarth is Prakriti. Padarth is the raw material which we see. And Paramatma is the life force. In 7th chapter, Lord Krishna calls it Parashakti and Aparashakti. Aparashakti is Padarth, through which all the bodies are made. And Parashakti is the life force, living force, which gives them the consciousness. This was also explained in chapter 15 that प्रकृति सब भूतों की योनि है और उस योनि में मैं चेतन रूप बीज को स्थापित करता हूं. These are the wordings which have been used. So it is very, very clear that there are two different, forces, Prakriti and Paramatma. Paramatma is the conscious force, the Chetana, Chetan, and Prakriti is inanimate, which works as matter. But when we see the manifestation of life, we cannot see either in Paramatma or in Prakriti, Padarth. The two must come together to manifest life. That is the crux. Now we are made, we have life. The body we inherit is made of Padarth. It is made of the 5 great elements. The food we eat is made of those 5 great elements. And those 5 great elements maintain our body because we keep taking food every day. And that food keeps this body intact. So, the Prakriti or Padarth is essential. And the manifestation of life happens when Padarth is in the form of a body. So, the body-mind complex is an essential part for manifestation of life. The life cannot manifest itself in vacuum. The Paramatma is avyakt. That consciousness is non-manifest. But to manifest that, a body must be created. A body could be in the form of a lion's body or a bird's body or a fish body or a human body. or even a plant's body, because plant also has life force, though less, but it has. So the body must be formed in order to express the life in this real world. So this is very, very important. The life cannot be, put into manifestation without this body, without this prakriti, without those five great elements which constitute our bodies, whatever body. It's not only human body, any body. So this is one thing we must understand. And what science today is doing is only analyzing the padarth. They cannot understand consciousness. When somebody dies, something leaves the body, because then the body becomes inanimate and cannot sustain itself. Now, what leaves that body is beyond the understanding of modern science. Science cannot understand that. And that point we should know very clearly. So, therefore, the manifestation of life, the Padarth is involved and the Paramatma is involved. Both are involved. And second part is, when we analyze ourselves, who am I? We also have to distinguish between the two, that there is a body part and there is a consciousness. So when we say, who am I? We talk about the consciousness. I am the consciousness. But the body is inherently there also. You cannot ignore it. Body is the vehicle of our journey. This vehicle has been given to us to perform the journey of life. Without that, there's no life. So simply saying that body is not useful is not correct. Body has to be kept in good shape. It has to be maintained. It has to be nurtured. It has to be healthy. Then only this journey of life would be successful. It would be satisfactory, and it would be, you know, productive in whatever sense we talk about. So this combination of the two, this is also in the Sankhya. Sankhya clearly talks about Purus and Prakriti. But this is also in Bhagavad Gita. This is also the same thing in the Vedas. So this distinction we must understand. To know Paramatma is Jnana, and to know Padarth is Vigyan. That also should be understood. The Jnana happens only when we understand the consciousness which is operating inside us. That is Jnana, real Jnana. Whatever rest we know is the knowledge of Padarth, and that is Vigyan. If you analyze iron and find out its component, if you analyze water and find out its component, if you analyze air and find out its component, that is all the analysis of Padarth. It has not, it is not the analysis of consciousness. So the analysis of consciousness is not possible with this body mind complex. This limitation we must understand. This body mind complex is not designed to understand consciousness. The consciousness is a different process. It's an inner process of meditation. It cannot be done in laboratories. It cannot be done through equipment we construct in our factories. So this is can be done in the most scientific equipment which has been designed by the Supreme, which is the human body. There is no factory or equipment in this universe which can compare with human body. Human body is the most fascinating machinery ever created, and only through this body, in this body there is a force called mind, We also call it inner instrument, mind and intellect put together. Through that, we can understand consciousness. Otherwise, it is not possible because the physical existence is not there. And without physical existence, you cannot see a thing, you cannot smell it, you cannot taste it, you cannot touch it. Eh? And that is why the padarth can be understood but not consciousness. So this is the important thing we must understand, padarth and Paramatma. The two together give birth to life. The two together exist so long as the life exists. When the two are separated, the life comes to an end. The consciousness goes away, and the padarth goes into the padarth, into the physical world. So this distinction is very important for us. So body is equally important, and therefore we have to keep our body in proper shape if we want to perform this journey, fruitfully and successfully. And to know this fact, to know consciousness, we have to have jnana. And through Vigyan, you can understand the padarth, you can understand the outside manifestation. Now, related to this, there are two more words, which is swasrit and parasrit. Parasrit is the one, parasrit means dependent on others. Swasrit means dependent on oneself. You can also call them partantra and swatantra in a different, wordings. Now, so long as we are dependent on others, we cannot be liberated. We will be liberated only when we become swastrit. We become dependent on ourselves. And that is the process in spirituality we follow. That how we become swastrit, how we become liberated, how we become swatantra. Swatantra means then you don't depend on anything which is outside. That means padarth. All this padarth which is in existence should become immaterial to you. You use it for your existence, but you don't become dependent on it. You don't have attachment to it. You don't have a special attraction to that. If it comes to you, if it is necessary, you use it. When it is not required, you should be able to dispose it of. So these words are correlated and they go together. Paramatma Padarth, Gyan Vigyan, Swasrit, Parasrit, or Swatantra, Partantra, all this, they are closely correlated. And related to that is another vocabulary which is called Anand and Khushi. Now, Anand is the one which comes through Gyan and by knowing the Paramatma. And pleasure or Khushi comes with the use of Padarth. When we listen to some music or we go and see a film, you feel happy for a little while. And then again, unhappiness comes. So the happiness which you derive from Padarth is short-lived. And it gives you happiness, turning into unhappiness after a while. But when you discover the true nature of consciousness, which is true nature of your own self, then you acquire Anand, which is eternal, which is perpetual, which keeps you eternally happy, eternal happiness, the word, because language has its limitations. You cannot don't have any word in English for Anand. There's no word because Anand doesn't have an opposite. There's no opposite of Anand. Happiness has unhappiness. Pleasure has pain. But Anand has no opposite at all because it doesn't have opposite. It's not possible. It's not dual. It is not part of the duality of this world. It is beyond the manifest world. So these are correlated things. So I thought I will mention these things in our journey of discovering ourselves. So thank you very much. Once again, I'm sorry for this technical glitch today, but we will continue on this journey despite these glitches. Thank you.